ecosystem panel, and we have some of the best speakers here. We have Artie from Dashbot. We have Facebook. We have Jack Crawford. We have Oker. We have David. And now I'll let Greg take over, and we'll jump right in. And at the end, we'll do questions. So save all your best questions for the panel. And
yeah, thanks y'all for coming. I want to thank Slack for that fantastic presentation this morning. I know I learned a lot. Just a little bit about me. I'm Gregory Kennedy. I've been in Silicon Valley for over 10 years in high-tech marketing, worked at a lot of different companies, startups. I'm also the founder of Uncharted Minds. It's a thought leadership series we've done here in San Francisco. We featured hundreds of speakers, CEOs, founders, entrepreneurs, innovators, thinkers, thought leaders. That's how I met Stefan, who's hosting this conference today, and he asked me to help him out and manage some of the panel moderation, which I'm excited to do. And in addition to my high-tech career, I'm also an amateur ultra-endurance cyclist and placed first in my 200-mile race last year called the Carmel Valley Double Century. And so today, on this panel, we have some fantastic speakers. We're going to cover the Chatbot ecosystem. And we'll cover all aspects of the ecosystem, B2B, B2C. I know there are people here who are planning about making a bot for their organization. They're interested in technology, platforms, what they can use to accelerate bot development. There's other people who are representing startups that are creating bots. We'll hopefully touch on aspects of the technology, the platforms, the business models, the ecosystem, what could be valuable for you. And so our first guest, Ilker Coxel. He's the CEO and founder of Botlytics. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and your company?
Yeah, thank you. I'm Ilker. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Bot Analytics. It's a conversational analytics tool for bots. Actually, we have been in this space like 1.5 years, and we are supporting more than 11 messaging platforms, and we are giving our services for more than 8,000 bots. And it's pretty simple, and you can look at your engagement rates, your churnable conversations, a lot of things going on at Bot Analytics. Yep, that's it.
Great. Next, Jack Crawford. He's the CEO and founder of Datalog.ai.
Hey, so my name's Jack Crawford. We have a product that we've been working for over a year, developing for enterprise businesses and medium-sized businesses to build their bots internally on premise within their private cloud so that they can keep their data within, particularly important data with their customers, as we know that Equifax stock is going down just a bit based on not safeguarding data. So that's our mission. We have our products called mypoly.ai, have some stickers in the front, if you forget the URL, where developers can go in and try it out with DocSite and so forth. So thanks for letting me join. Here we go.
Next, Anand Avik-Karasu, who is product growth at Facebook. And I know you had some challenges getting up here for South Bay, so thank you very much for making it on time. I will hope to be on time with all the panels today. Why don't you tell us a little about this tiny little startup from South Bay called Facebook?
I know, right? Yeah, thanks for having me here. I'm a product growth manager focused on Messenger and partnerships. My whole focus is to help brands and developers to get on the ecosystem and build compelling experiences on the platform. And we've been seeing a lot of good traction in the platform, and it's growing leaps and bounds. And on the other side, I'm personally interested in AI and machine learning, and also have a good background in mobile growth and ad tech, and continuing to see a lot of progress here. So thanks for having me here. Looking forward to share some of the insights I'm seeing.
Thank you. Next, Artie Merritt, CEO and co-founder of Dashbot.
Hi, everyone. Just as Greg just said, I'm Artie Merritt, the co-founder and CEO of Dashbot. We're a bot analytics platform, and when we refer to bots, we mean any conversational interface, whether that's more text-based like Facebook and Slack, or voice like Google Home or Alexa. We launched a little over a year ago. We processed over 10 billion messages. Just to give you an idea of the growth rate of that, it took us about 10 months to reach the first billion, 6 weeks for the second. We're now doing more than 2 billion messages a month. Our customers include folks like AOL, NBC, Domino's, American Eagle, Condé Nast, a whole slew of the top startup bots out there. We provide everything from traditional analytics to bot-specific metrics, and more importantly, tools to take action on the data, things like a live person takeover, push notifications, and something we're announcing today, this concept of triggers and alerts. You can set triggers and alerts to be notified when particular conditions occur so you can jump in and do something about it.
Excellent. And last, David Pixenmeister. So I've got your last name, but the name of your company, Oratio, is that correct?
That's correct, yeah.
Co-founder of Oratio. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me here. I came all the way here from Austria, not Australia, so we have no kangaroos in Austria. I'm the co-founder of Oratio. We are building a customer communication platform for businesses, which help businesses connect with their customers on messengers, either through live chat or through bots. And we're basically in this space since more than 2 years, so we actually started way before this whole bots hype started.
Excellent. Well, thank you all. What a fantastic collection of brain power we have on stage today. I think the obvious question that we want to kick off with is like, can you each give us your perspective on the chatbot ecosystem, where it's been, and where you think it's going? What use cases do you think it will overtake? Stefan's been clear about his idea that it'll perhaps replace mobile applications. Are you guys as bullish as he is on that prediction, or maybe somewhere in between?
So we're big believers that conversation is the future. If you think of all those videos of 2-year-olds where they could swipe the iPhone and the iPad, they already knew how to interact with these devices. The same exact thing's happening right now with devices like Alexa and Google Home. Little kids know how to interact with these things. One of my co-founders has two little kids. They run up, Alexa, play the Happy Dance. Alexa, play Star Wars. They know that interaction. Similarly, on platforms like Facebook Messenger, it is an opportunity to replace mobile apps, especially in the retail space. No one really downloads these apps anymore. Now you have app-like experiences inside Facebook Messenger without having to actually download anything.
I can say that actually Anand can also at some point on. We are supporting more than 11 messaging platforms, but just I mentioned on Facebook. On Facebook side, if you look at the Facebook pages, they announced there are 65 million business pages, and their pages and their followers just do comment and like. So you can think about them as a offline users. They have millions and they are offline. So if you shift those pages to a bot, now you are transforming your offline users to an online. I think just this kind of thing is a big shift. Just in a messenger channel, there are a lot of channels, but in this channel, it's a big shift. So if you think the boss perspective in this manner for businesses, they can transform their millions of followers to an offline to an online, I think.
So I'm going to ask for a show of hands as well. Enterprise companies that are looking for using bots internally. I'm going to ask you to raise your hands. And if you don't raise your hand, we'll assume that you're in the consumer bot space. So it's 1, 2. That's it? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15.
30%.
Okay. All right, I'll take that. So I only have just my personal opinion about the space that has been brought to us through Facebook and others, and my feeling is that they opened the door. I remember, many products that found their way into homes before they found their way into businesses, simply because businesses have many processes that need to be accommodated and managed before they introduce new technology in a big way. So that's my thought on it. I think it's been great what we have now, and what lies ahead can be amazing. So either David.
David, why don't you go, and then we'll have Facebook go last. I think I know where they sit on it.
Yep. For me personally, I want to add like one more perspective to this whole bot space. I mean, for example, for us, it's really hard to grasp. We're like a first world country, like especially like the Europe, the US. We're like still desktop first users. We do a lot of things on our desktop. We all have like a mobile phone, but it's still our second tier layer where we do stuff. And if you look like in emerging markets, where actually the smartphone is the only touch point to the internet, and one of the first things to usually install are messaging networks, I see huge potential coming up, especially from emerging markets, but also from a very younger audience who are not desktop first anymore.
Great.
Awesome. Thank you. So, so looking at all that's happening in the ecosystem, it's really awesome to see a lot of growth that's happening. A couple of areas that I'm seeing where there's high impact is one, we call it like app consolidation, where as you all know, like people are downloading less and less apps. I used to come from the app growth world, and even people who are downloading and installing those apps are not engaging with them more. The engagement is going lower and lower. It's reaching to a saturation point. So a lot of that businesses we are seeing slowly transitioning into the bot ecosystem, because there's no download or install needed. It's instant, and that conversational experience is present. The other area we are seeing is conversation, one-to-one conversation at scale, which includes using Messenger for as a marketing channel, Messenger for customer service. It's growing, and we all know like the open rates in email and things like that have gone down significantly. And with a channel like Messenger, marketers are able to tap into it and do a variety of things, including like user acquisition, lead gen, or even like finally making conversions as an e-commerce element. So those are the main areas we are seeing a lot of traction, and it's growing.
Yeah, so you came from the mobile app space,
Yes.
and you're seeing the transition
Yeah.
into the bot space. What do you think are the primary factors driving that? And do you believe the idea, at least in the United States, that it'll overtake mobile apps? And I'll even play devil's advocate to some degree, right? Like you could argue that that chatbot ecosystem that people are so excited about in Silicon Valley is they're looking to Asia, where they're really successful, right? But apps on the iPhone and on Android have really succeeded in the United States. And I'd be curious to hear your perspective on why you think it would overtake something as successful ultimately as mobile applications that people know in the United States have become.
Absolutely. It's a really good question. So one thing I would say to that is, if you look at apps, they vary from a great variety of experiences, starting from like a simple experience. Let's say I want to book a flight, I maybe download the app for that airlines. Or if I want to do something like a retailer, I'll download the app for that retailer. I used to do that, and then you have the rich experiences, which includes the gaming and things like that, where people actually spend a ton of time, other than the top 5 communication apps out there. So if you look at it, where the disruption is starting to happen, and this is only at the beginning of the spectrum, is the easier experiences. People don't want to download apps anymore. We're not seeing that happen, and more of that is moved into the conversational experience space. On top of it, we have been upgrading the platform more and more with a lot of rich experiences. That in itself is driving a lot more users to come and explore this new platform. And on top of it, as you mentioned, like Asia is like also leading it because they are conversation first countries. That's another huge area that's picking up. So overall, those are the areas where we will see the initial traction. And again, like people don't want to keep downloading and installing and upgrading these apps, and that's one big pain point that will be solved with this interface.
Yeah, go ahead.
Basically, both what David and Anand are saying, the developing regions is huge. There's certain use cases where there's app fatigue. But there's also use cases where conversation's so much better. The interesting thing, what got us really excited about this space is how much richer the conversational data is. When you think of websites and mobile apps, everything's predefined for you. There's links to click, there's buttons to click. Where in conversation, users are telling you what they want. They're telling you their intents, and that's really fascinating. You can take some interesting actions on that. And the thing that's somewhat left out of this is voice, like the Alexa and Google Home. There's some really cool things you can do there that are quite a bit different than playing around with an app or something that's more text-based.
Great. Is there anyone else that wants to like weigh in on like platforms and technologies? We all know Facebook is a big platform for apps, and we had Slack speak earlier. That's obviously a great one for B2B. So I was curious if people might weigh in on what other alternatives are out there. Are there alternatives? Like, what is your perspective on just platforms in general?
Yeah, I think it's super interesting that you mentioned Asia, and especially if we take a look at WeChat. And last year when Facebook opened up, there was like a lot of discussion, is Messenger going to be the WeChat of the West? And I think it's really hard to say. I mean, if you compare like, especially WeChat to the rest of the world, there's a lot missing. And if you take a look at Facebook Messenger, they might be able to become the WeChat of the US, but also if you just look at how long it takes Facebook to roll out payment across all countries, there's like a long time, and that's
that's not even like Facebook fault. It's like because they have to deal with so many countries, there's like different laws in every country, and so it's really hard to have like this one app who's gonna be the WeChat of the West, and that's the really benefit of WeChat. It's in China, they're working together with the government, and it's way easier for them to become a leading platform where everything goes through this single chat app.
There's not necessarily one winner. It's not like your phone, you're just carrying one, so you either have Android or iPhone kind of thing. You can think, at work, you might be using Slack. Some friends use an iMessage, others using Facebook Messenger. Maybe you have friends back in Asia using Line or WeChat. Like, people use all these different platforms. So obviously, Facebook's the biggest player in this space. But I think voice is something that's exciting, and that's something we see from brands. So brands, they're usually working on two platforms, Facebook and then one of the voice, Alexa or Google Home. And they're doing some really interesting things there. We think you can go into like a store. Imagine you go into like Home Depot, instead of trying to find the guy in the orange apron, where can I find something? You could ask the Alexa device that's there. And they're trying to get them in hotels as well, so you can do those kind of things too. It's pretty fascinating.
So one other point to add, this is early days again, where we are seeing some growth as well is we have seen like mobile first companies like Ubers of the world come in, and then they dominated, and then they now have a web presence too. But like something similar is happening in the messaging space, where there are messaging first companies. Like for example, Snap Travel is a good example, where they built a complete company on top of the messenger platform and other messaging platforms. And they're seeing like significant revenues, and they're raising further rounds. And I'm seeing like that trend is picking up as well, like these messaging first companies that can be a new thing as well.
Great. Yeah, great. There's obviously a lot of people here interested in having startup. There were lots of questions already about monetization. How much money are people making? I'd love to hear your perspective on startups in the chatbot ecosystem, what you think about the whole space, right? Like, what are the verticals that perhaps people should be looking at? What are verticals maybe they should not be looking at? Can you kind of weigh in and give some advice to entrepreneurs who are here today and are looking for your kind of guidance and perspective on the space? We'll come back to you again.
All right, so I'll start from my perspective again. I came out of life sciences. Life sciences is a highly regulated business. We know that finance is a highly regulated business, but not quite the same situation. And then insurance is another. And in North America and in Europe, insurance is an important consumer product, and insurance companies compete. And so that competition leads to customer experience being a very high priority. So I see that as the new opportunity if I picked a vertical that's a tough one, but a high opportunity one. So that's the balance between, do you take the low-hanging fruit, or would you look at something that has big impact? And so that's where I think the next step is.
I think it differs for both B2B and B2C. If we give an example for on the B2B side, we can all see that a lot of Slack examples, and they're digging on enterprises and disrupting those enterprises' big data, and with a conversational UI experience. I think it is big. There are a lot of verticals in this area, in a sales, in a marketing, in many areas. You can give a conversational UI experience, and Slack is kind of a good platform to make it happen. Yeah.
Great.
On the brand side, the things that we see the most interesting is media, entertainment, travel, retail, and then what we're calling local, like whether it's a Grubhub type company or Yelp, local restaurants. Startups, it's really interesting that they're all, the use cases you see are much more than customer service kind of things. They're what you often see in mobile apps. There's dating bots, there's virtual characters, there's personal bots like celebrity bots. Some of the top bots on our platform happen to be these dating bots, religious bots, survey-related bots. It's pretty fascinating, and it's still new enough space that there's opportunity for someone to try something new. The retail one's particularly interesting to us. It's interesting to hear startups go after the travel space, because all the travel players have something, whether it's the individual airline, hotel, travel booking, or travel guide. Those guys have conversational interfaces, and then you see startups come up about this, trying to disrupt that. So it's pretty fascinating. I don't know if the Waylo's here, but there's things around how you can price hotels. That part of it, that's part of the reason why. Like apparently there's things with you can't price things a certain way if Google can actually search for it, and right now they can't search for inside these conversational interfaces. So there's some opportunity there to make money, but it's really neat.
Yeah, basically I think there are like two big verticals of bots. That are like on this one hand, the business services or business integrations. Slack is a very good example of that. There are a lot of successful, let's say, bots or integrations in Slack, which are doing quite well. And then on the other hand, we have basically B2C bots. And in my opinion, they're way harder, because B2C, in my opinion, is way harder anyway. And there are some verticals who might do better, like e-commerce, especially when you take a look at small web shop owners. They usually have a really crappy website, and it's way easier to make a better experience in Messenger than on a crappy mobile website. Yeah.
Yeah, does anyone else want to weigh in? I mean, it sounds similar to the mobile ecosystem, right? You've got travel, games, entertainment. Use the microphone, yeah.
When you think about games, it'd be interesting to see what people actually do with these conversational interfaces with games. So who would ever thought with the device someone would actually use the microphone as part of a game? And then Smule made all sorts of neat apps and fun apps all around that. So that's one of the things I'm really looking forward to see. What do people do with Facebook Messenger games or these voice, Alexa, Google Home, where it is more conversational? That's something that'd be pretty exciting.
To add to that, like some more details into it, like why is it working really well in cases like retail or like other areas like airlines and all that. So a couple of simple things that are in the platform, like receipts, or like even like easy to send coupons that you can save it there and then show it in the retail shop, like things like very basic things that you can easily modify, and being the dynamic nature of the platform, those are like advantages that we are seeing, that why this is getting adopted very well in certain verticals.
One thing which was definitely missing, in my opinion, are group chats. So if you just go through a group chat with friends and just see how many links were shared in this chat, just because you were using a different service or a website or a different app, and need to paste a lot of links or information from outside to the chat, then you can see a lot of opportunity where bots can actually be a huge benefit.
I'll definitely add a quick point to the chat experience. We launched a product called Chat Extensions. I think it's a really good use case. If you see it, like, let's say you are traveling, you and your friend are deciding to travel, and then you want to have this group experience where you want to fix the same flight, let's say you want to use Kayak for searching for the same flight, same timing and all that. Now it's much easier using Chat Extension. You go into this as a group shopping experience, where you're simultaneously booking the flight, be it like, or also like dinner reservation and open table. That's a good example where we're seeing a lot of good ways in which people are using Chat Extension, which is a completely new way of integrating and working with businesses.
Yeah, rather than try to hobble together like email and a link, and then the link doesn't work, and my wife can't figure out where we're going for dinner. Yeah, it's a disaster. Another question? Or? Oh, okay, great. Yeah. So there was some very specific questions about like private on-premise installation versus public cloud. Does anyone want to weigh in on that? That clearly is important for B2B applications, right? Like there are a lot of restrictions around data usage and how they would actually implement something.
So I'll start. Everybody's looking at me. Great, thank you. Thank you very much. I do see a place for the consumer part of this, and that is that when a business is running at a high scale with communications with their customers, do we really want that information to flow outside of the company? Because it's very valuable. Artificial intelligence is getting better and better. That's how our business started. We focused on interpretation, and that's really the beginning part of that is natural language understanding. A lot of data means a lot of understanding, which means your models are trained better, and that makes your company more competitive. So that what I'd say that is the primary reason above regulation and compliance for wanting to keep your data within your enterprise. In cases where you're reaching out to the consumer via social channels, I don't think the risk is as high. And that's where, again, as I shared, is that the advent of social platforms using Messenger and the group chat, I know this is amazing, really amazing, because that's how you draw your customers. That's part of your channel. But once you have a member, once you have a customer that's signed up, has an account, and doing transactions, we'll see banking and other areas really focused on their apps and using text messaging and other methods where they keep those interactions internally. Quite frankly, I think it also helps make more money because then you begin to address customer service and other areas which are manual and tedious. And as natural language understanding improves in the next 36 months, and it will be crazy, amazing simulations of human-like conversation. I use the word simulation very specifically because that's what bots are. We simulate what it's like to have a human communicate. And so we have another channel rather than a replacement channel in business. So you still will have social, you still will have apps, you still will have enterprise systems, but what we'll have is an aid to take out those tedious, mundane things and automate them and allow people to take on other tasks. Oh my God, I think I just said that people are going to lose jobs.
So we don't build bots, we're just at the analytics side, but we do work with folks that have in-house web-based bots, SMS bots, all that kind of stuff. It's a little bit tricky when you're using like a messaging platform like Facebook to have something on-premise because it's going through Facebook. It's only come up a handful of times with some financial institutions asking about that, like on the data side, can that be something held on-premise? But it's not something that comes up that often, at least for us.
Coming from Europe, I see there's a lot about privacy concern, especially from enterprises when using networks such as Facebook. Especially with the upcoming European Union law about privacy, where it's really hard to have like all data handled through US data centers. Long story. Anyway, it's an on-premise solution. That's definitely an important thing for companies in Europe. What I also see, like on the one hand, you have like the upside of using social networks or messaging networks because the user already used to these channels. On the downside of enterprises, you always have the point that they want to own the channel, which never happens if they use Facebook Messenger, if they're using Viber or any other messaging networks. They don't own the channel, and especially bigger enterprises, they somehow at least want to own some part of the channel. That's why they're still using email, still using live chat, and sometimes still a bit scared about having the whole conversation or moving the whole customer service or customer support to a network like Facebook Messenger because they don't own the channel anymore.
Yeah. What we see in our examples, we have some banking clients as well. And for this kind of enterprises, they have many channels. Like they have social channel, they have customer support channel, they have messenger channel, they have a lot of channels. And for some of them, like big portion, like in the customer support side, we made on-premise. But for others, it can be like an on-demand side. And the mixing of this side is kind of good case for an enterprise. But as David said, the biggest portion of the data, like in a customer support side, they want to get it in the data and get in on-premise.
Great. So we have a couple more minutes. Do you want to take questions from the audience? Do we have another?
Thanks for asking that. Like, I just want to make sure a disclaimer. At this point, we would not be able to talk about WhatsApp and the strategy. So probably at some point.
I totally dig WhatsApp.
Oh, that's funny.
I think WhatsApp has a huge potential, especially in emerging countries. We feel like there's huge usage in South America, in Africa, in Europe, and also upcoming in Southeast Asia. So it's like a huge network. Many users, many businesses demand some kind of like API or platform, but yeah, we're still waiting.
Yeah. Another question why don't you stand up? And the question's about scaling across Facebook, given the wide variety of like languages that they would have to have to support.
Absolutely. Really good point. One thing I really want to thank the chatbot ecosystem is a lot of this work is also taken up and helped by the partner ecosystem, which actually helps us in rendering in some of the other languages. Facebook Messenger as a platform is very open to multiple languages. It's the same platform that all the consumer-facing application, consumer-facing chats are present. So in that end, we support all the languages. But from an NLP standpoint or from some of the advances I'm seeing in different languages, a lot of work is done by the partner ecosystem, which is coming and building on top of it and helping us on that side. And with Wit.ai, we are expanding into many languages. We started with English and we expanded into Spanish, and then that's also growing from our side from an NLP support. So that's where we are seeing. But otherwise, the entire platform is language agnostic, other than all the other rich media and all that is going to be language agnostic.
All right, let's try one more and see if this works, and then we'll break.
So from the B2B side, one of the questions which we keep getting asked is, how is this different from the IVR, right? Again, it's a self-serve. How is it different from the IVR? Love to get your perspectives. Again, I have my thoughts, but love to get your perspective there.
So the IVR flow, as you see, is very like press 1 to do this, press 2 to this, press 3 for this. Whereas if you look at chatbot designs, it varies from all the way from live chat experiences where you connect directly to a live chat agent. Then there is also this kind of flow experiences, which is much more conversational. It's not like, hey, press 1 or press 2 or like. And then the third aspect of it is we are seeing a lot of NLP getting built into the platform, with even using Wit.ai. And that is making it much more conversational, where the bot is able to understand the context and able to provide you a much more relevant answer, rather than like, hey, press 1 to reach this and press 2. So I think there is a big change between the two. The other aspect of like IVR and all that is there's a big queue that we have always seen where customers get frustrated. Like you go call some 1-800 number, you press 1, 2, 3, and then you're just waiting on hearing some awesome music. Not awesome, it's crappy music. but is this kind of experience is what we want to avoid in the world of Messenger, where we want to give that instant good responses, either from live chat or bots or NLP, advanced NLP.
Excellent. Anyone else want to say last words, or maybe give them? Yeah.
We hear about this customer service stuff a lot. But the interesting thing, and one takeaway is the chatbot environments, these messaging platforms, there's so much more you can do beyond customer service. It is those use cases you see inside mobile apps, and then even newer ones that we hadn't really thought of, as mentioned before, like the things like celebrity bots, personal bots, virtual characters, and new ways to take a twist on existing things, like I was mentioning, all the games and all. So it's much more than just customer service.
Excellent. I think that's what we have time for, so yeah, we're going to have to.
Just one quick thing.
Okay.
I just want to say, like, I'm still here for a couple of hours, I think, you as well. So there were a couple of questions. You can just approach us later, and I'm happy to answer questions. I think that's
exactly. So thank our panel.